Let me start by saying how grateful I am that you have turned in very large numbers to participate in this very important stakeholders engagement forum. As some of the speakers who spoke before me said, this is a follow-up of the previous meeting we had in Meru shortly after the elections, where we were able to engage and generate many ideas on where we want to take Meru County. So this is that follow-up meeting which we promised you that we would have. And our vision for Meru cannot be confined to the geographical location called Meru. Our vision is not bigger. One of the smallest countries in the world called Israel, very small, has huge influence in the world. They determine even who will get elected in some of the superpowers in the world, because they have not confined their vision to that geography called Israel. They can see that we can also operate in the global map. And that is how we want to see ourselves in Meru. Our plans and our thinking are not confined in that geography called Meru. We want to see ourselves being actors in the country and outside the country and in the globe. That is why we want to do this meeting, and we will do many other meetings anywhere else. So this meeting really was to brief you, explain to you what we have been able to do so far, where we have reached, and where we want to go from now. And also, of course, as I've said, get more ideas, and get structure on how we can be able to engage with you as we implement our program for men. So I wanted to really thank you for coming, and thank you also for supporting us during the elections. I'm sure we've not been able to meet with many of you to pass those thanks for those who shared our dream and supported us during the elections. And even those who didn't, because you can still share that dream today. It doesn't matter whether you supported that time, you can support them another time. Or you can support the idea so that we develop Meru, because Meru is for all of us. This meeting was planned for that briefing session, and also two other main agendas we want to involve you in. And one agenda has already been touched on by Professor Kaimeni and Senator Graitu, that Meru cannot continue performing poorly in education. We have a history of performing very well, but somewhere along the line, something went wrong. And that's why we are now stuck in number 33 in terms of performance in our primary schools. And of course, if your primary school performance is very poor, there is no way you can perform well in secondary school and even in the university, because the raw materials come from the base, which is the primary school. So if we want to intervene to make our education performance better, we have to be able to intervene at the primary school level, so that we're able to produce better materials that now we go to the secondary and the university level. And we say, therefore, one of the programs we want to launch today is a mentorship program for our primary schools first, before we come to our secondary schools. All of us who are here either went to a primary school in Meru, or even if you didn't go to a primary school in Meru, there is a primary school you are associated with, whether either your parents or your relatives went to school, a school that is situated in your village. That is where we want to involve you in mentoring that primary school, trying to intervene to find out what the problem is in that primary school, and assisting that primary school to improve performance. We know many of you are already doing that, individually and informally, but we thought it is important for us to structure that program, institutionalize it, and so that we can be able to produce results across the county and change the performance. The other program is, I know I'm going, meeting many of you and being asked many questions. what are you doing? What is happening? We don't know what is happening. We are not involved in what is happening. So we have been thinking on how to involve you, how to get you involved in what is happening. We want you to be part of the transformation that we are undertaking in Meru County. And we know if we all come together, I'm sure we will be able to transform the county in a big way. So we were thinking of a structure in which we can engage you. And that's why we are also now launching a program we are calling Stakeholders Working Groups. We want to put you in, sector working groups. Put you in sectors where you have expertise. If your expertise is in investments, you join a committee that will deal with investment. If your expertise is tourism, you join a committee that will deal with tourism. If your expertise is in water, we have our departments that are running the county government. You can be giving us ideas. We want to structure that engagement so that you are all involved in what is happening in the next house. So that is the other program we wanted to launch today, touching a little bit on what we have done so far. First of all, we have been able to institutionalize the county government. We have been able to lay the structures that are required to run the county government. I know we have been asked, what have you done so far? What development have you undertaken? But how will you undertake development if you are alone? You are elected, put in office, you are alone. You must be able to recruit other people who are specialized in those areas. Then you have a government. When you have a government is when you can be able to run a government, and then that's when you can be able to deliver services. So sometimes when you hear a lot of criticism about what counties have not done, if you have been put in office, there is no money in the office. Because the money is in the national government, and even the money that we generate there, the law requires us to send it back to the national government for it to come back to the counties. And then you have to wait for that cycle, for the processes to go on, the budgets, the allocations, the revenue allocation bill to pass, and then the money now is put in the central bank. And then for that money to be released in the central bank, there have to be budgets, which you work on. You finalize those budgets, then those budgets have to be approved again at the national level by the control of budgets before it is sent back to the county. So the first 2-3 months, those are the things we were doing. There was no spending that was going on other than paying salaries. There was no anything else going on other than doing the budgets, organizing the government, recruiting the staff we required. 3-4 months are gone. In fact, even now we are still recruiting some of the push staff. Some counties have not even moved. If you look at the papers, you see some counties still recruiting chief officers. Chief officers are the PSs in the county government. Meru, we have already finished the executive committee members. We finalized with the chief officers long ago. We have even recruited the sub-county administrators. We are finalizing with the ward administrators. Last week, we finalized even with the directors of departments. So we are moved in terms of trying to rationalize the cabinet. What are some of the things we have done, or we are in the process of doing? One of the key projects that the Senator already talked to you about is our road program. We think, we believe, a lot of socio-economic transformation can only take place if we have some of the key enablers. One of the key enablers of socio-economic transformation is infrastructure. We got about 5 billion in Meru this financial year that is ending. If you look at our wage bill, you look at the officers who are employed by the county, by the former municipal councils, and then you look at the officers that have been offloaded by the national government to us. If you combine all those salaries, we are supposed to pay. But right now, what we are supposed to pay before we even finalize the hiring of those other officers, we have a wage bill coming to the national staff only. I'm not going to include the local staff. 2.7 billion. 2.7 billion. The road sector alone, you're supposed to pay 700 million. If you're combining with the local staff, our bill comes to around 300. I mean, 3 billion. Those are salaries. I'm not talking about administrative and other recurrent expenditure that require planning. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, if we are to rely only with the income we are getting, and if you look at what we raise in our local taxes, we raise only 300 million from the collections we get, the collections the councils were making. We raise only 300 million. If you try to increase those collections a little bit, you have demonstrations. The markets, for example, what they pay for bananas, it is 10 bob. You pay, you are selling bananas, basket of bananas in the market, you pay 10 bob. If you make it 20 bob, in fact, we try to correct because the law, the way it is now is they are supposed to pay 20 bob, but we found them paying 10 bob. So I said, let's correct that, we follow the law, the way we collect what we are supposed to collect. When I did that, Munya knows, Munya knows what happened. So this is the environment within which we are operating. We are under pressure to raise money, to deliver services because people want services delivered. But we are also being told don't tax us for it. So where are we going to get this money to do it? So we are saying now we have to think of other ways of raising revenue to be able to implement these programs. And that's why we went looking for cheaper technology for doing roads that is less expensive than the technology that we use here, because we got information that that technology exists. We went to Malaysia. We were able to see roads that have been constructed there that have lasted for 14 years without potholes, with very minimal repairs, costing close to a third of what we spend doing our tarmac roads here. We say this is a technology we want to adopt because we want as many roads as possible. Because what people care about in the villages is not how beautiful the road is. It is if they are able to move from one point to another. And the style of maraming road every season, rainy season, and then it is washed, and then you maram the next season and it is washed away, spending all that money. They realize we could spend that money in servicing alone, which again we were able to access at a cheaper rate. You know, at a very low interest rate, we can be able to have good roads during our lifetime and be able to transform the county of Meru, and then we can be able to service those roads. So this is the program we have for roads. So we intend to do at least 300 kilometers of roads in Meru within the next 2 years. Because the agreement with the Malaysians is that they will do the roads for 2 years, and for our moratorium of those 2 years, we won't be repaying. We start repaying after the roads are done, and then we can be able to repay that debt within 10 years. We have a 10-year period to repay that debt. And we looked at our budgets, we looked at the money we have put in the roads, we realized we have enough money within our road budget to retire that debt very comfortably and still do other infrastructure things we want to do using the money we already have. So we thought this is a great idea, and we invited them to come. We went to see the roads. So far, we took them also to the ministry, the government, the national ministry. They have tested those materials, the materials department of the ministry have tested the materials, and they are saying the materials are good. And now, the thing that is remaining is for us to do a pilot project with them, which the national government will approve when that pilot project is done. So we have already identified a 10-kilometer road that will be done immediately on a pilot basis. The national government has also said it will do see the same road 4 kilometers, because the national government is also trying cheaper ways of doing roads, and then compare those two systems, which one is better in terms of the road, then they can also adopt. So this is what we are going to do in another 3 months, because we are already shipping those materials. In another 2 months, we will have that pilot taking off, and then we can be able to go out that program across the country. The other area we understand also is extremely important for us, because we are an agricultural county, is water. We've not been able to do a lot in water yet, but we have been able to roll out the planning. As we speak now, we have engineers, a consortium of engineers from the National Water Pipeline Corporation, who are mapping out, who are actually doing designs for water. We first of all started with satellite imaging, finding out where the water sources are. And then after that, now the engineers have come. We are designing 7 dams. We have identified areas with 7 dams across the county. In the Mount Kenya forest area, Nyeri, and Gaya, where we think if we do those dams, we will have enough water for everybody. We have enough water to drink and enough water to farm. So that design work is already going on as we speak. We also have a plan of transforming our towns. We want our towns, our urban centers, to be centers of commerce, to attract investors there so that businesses can thrive in our towns. And that's why we are planning. The process of planning for our towns is already going on. Meru town, we already have a plan, which is complete. Mao is being done. Timao is being done. And the other centers are all being done. We want to come up with plans which we enforce, and then our towns will be okay. Part of the money for infrastructure will also be for doing tarmacking of our towns, because we want our towns all to be. We want to finish with the dust that is in our towns. We want our towns to be nice places for living and for doing business. We are also doing the Meru Stadium. Already the designs are complete. We are putting money ready to start. We are also doing the Munya Stadium. We want to have 2 main stadiums in Meru, and we have some of the key teams interested actually to make Meru their home, to be able to be playing. We are also doing beautification. The park, Meru Park, we are already done with the Ministry of Environment, some of the works. We have many other works that we are going to do in the park, and also Munya.